You are listening to the ReRACEables podcast. Hello and welcome to the ReRACEables podcast. I'm your host, Tom. We took the last week off with Thanksgiving and everything going on. We hope that everyone had a wonderful holiday. Tonight, we're going to bring you our very special interview with the recently eliminated, spoiler alert, Marcus Craig. We hope you enjoy it. Welcome back to the ReRACEables podcast. I am joined tonight by a very special guest, Marcus from season 34 of The Amazing Race. Marcus, thanks for being here. Welcome into the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, Tom. It's all good. I appreciate you having me.
Well, Marcus, we've had you on before, and it was under better circumstances at the time.
Yes.
But let's start there. Eliminated. Why did you get eliminated? What happened? Give us the truth. Set the record straight.
I mean, it was all on me, and it was the Picasso puzzle that we had to put together, and everything that happened after that. The puzzle just put us too far behind, and we couldn't close the gap. Like, I think we might have shaved 10 to 15 minutes off of how far we were behind, the edit. But we left that park with the Picasso painting about 45 to 50 minutes after Emily and Molly. So in a mega leg, especially like this season of the race, like that's a big hurdle to try to get out of. You kind of think of like Glenda Lumumba. In a way, they were when they got eliminated in Dom, they already left like at the last group. I don't think 45 minutes behind. They left only 15 minutes behind the third group that day. But the drive in the ditch, right? That hurt, and my performance on this puzzle was equivalent of me driving in the ditch.
Yeah, and we had talked about it on the podcast throughout this season so far, and just the way the formula of the episodes seemed to be and the way it was set up, it seemed like one mistake that could cost you 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour would be that death blow, and it sounds like that's what happened.
No, 100%. And, unlike it, from like experience, unlike the first mega leg in Italy, these tasks weren't made to allow a team that's in behind to come back. So I think about Italy and Ducati. A lot of teams were there 2+ hours. There are only a few teams that completed that in under that time frame. Only one team in under an hour, which was Emily, and I think Michael was the second fastest. That on that same episode, that same leg, we had the chiseling challenge, which a lot of people there 90 minutes or longer. But with the task in Spain, they weren't that long. So even if you could make up driving, navigating, the task didn't allow for it.
Because how long was the arch making, for example?
So the arch making, we were there for over an hour, but there was a discussion before we chose that challenge. I know the edit makes it seem like it was immediate, and like at first it was when we talked about it. We already knew by the time we got to Rhonda that it was probably over. When we arrived in Rhonda, so you valet your car at the hotel, and you got to find a tour guide. But immediately we saw the woodworker that you go see after the detour. But at this point in time, we don't know that. So we just saw the wood carver there because he has the big yellow Amazing Race envelope like on his workstation. And as soon as we got out the car, so we ran to him, and then we were told and there was one clue there. And so we were told, this isn't your clue, right? Then we ran over to the tour guide, and it was, dress for success or bend over backwards. But since we were getting a clue from the tour guide, deductive reasoning said, if we have to go do this task to come back to get this clue, and it's only one left. All their teams already got that clue for the roadblock.
Wow.
It was a tightrope. So at that point in time, it was like, yeah, it was like kind of immediate that Mike was like, yeah, let's just go build. But then we talked about it. This might be longer. And we like, let's just have some fun with it, enjoy our time before Phil comes to grab us and send us home. So like we knew as soon as we got to Rhonda, we didn't close enough time.
So in other words, everything is in such close proximity. The woman on the bridge that had the flag where you had to go to choose it, but you actually ran into the woodworker who had the clue for that detour. Is that or that?
Yeah.
Okay.
They couldn't have been more than 30 to 40 yards apart.
Okay.
So it was real close. We ran to that guy. We were told, this isn't your clue. We went to the bridge. It was really close. And so we understood. We're like, yeah, we think that's it for us. And so the whole time apologizing to Michael for blowing it on that task.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be absolutely devastating. I give you so much credit, both of you, for in that moment knowing, okay, we're probably dead last and this is it, and you having that weight on your shoulders. But to keep going and to finish strong, I admire for whatever that's worth. But it's I don't know that I could do that. That's why I really think I'm getting it. But let's talk about after being eliminated. So you go see Phil. He puts you guys down. How do you feel after that? Like, are you devastated because we blew it? Or is it more you're grateful and you know what, they beat us?
I don't have a PC answer for that. The second, I think if all teams run their best leg, and granted, right, making mistakes or not making mistakes, it's part of the race, and it all teams run their best leg. Michael and I win, and I think that's the reality of the situation. I still to this day can't say any of them beat us. We beat ourselves, and so it's like all the competitors that were there and what they brought to the show, what they brought to the competition. But I lost it for us more than any of them beat us is how I see it. But with that said, it was like, this dichotomy of I'm appreciative of the experience. Like it's a blessing to be on the show. Mm-hmm. So great in that time with my brother. Mm-hmm. At the time, like we live and thrive in competition, and I fumbled it in a big way.
Yeah, and that's why I posed that question that way, right? Because from my angle, it seemed like you guys blew it, or you lost it. But it did seem like you also achieved some level of gratitude, like the way you guys went out. But I agree. I don't think anybody beat you per se. I think, and maybe that's been this way this whole season, again, because of just the nature of the setup and the rarity it seems there's been to have a real ability to catch up and really pass people. But yeah, it's gotta kill you, man. I felt so bad. Like my heart was breaking. Like after seeing you guys get eliminated, I'm like, and you said it at the end, like, oh, I cost my brother this money. And I have a brother, and I've been poking at him to make a video with me to go on the race. And I can't imagine being in your position and just like, oh, Marcus. I was like,
what I feel the worst, what makes me feel the worst about it is the challenge itself. And this is going to sound really crazy, me saying this. I really thought it was easy.
Right.
The puzzle, right? So if you recall, like the edit was for the most part true in the checks, right? I think the first time it said it had two things wrong, one panel and the back panel. Mm-hmm. That was wrong. It was backwards, right? It's all they're all transparent. I looked at it, it was backwards. And so I turned it around. It was like the third or fourth panel, something like that. And so the first 5 panels, they were all good. And I guess that was the artwork I was paying attention to. And so I'm looking at through those things, I'm like, it looks right. And it was. And so I guess what started breaking my confidence down was like I was certain it was correct. And so when a guy's saying it's not correct, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Long story short, when I ripped open all the canvas, you recognize that the back panel is the back panel because it's not transparent. It has like this white or brown background to it. So I instantly said, that's the back panel, put it in the back. And I never looked at the artwork on that piece. And so, and for whatever reason, it took me over an hour to recognize that it was upside down.
Yeah, and I wonder, I'm a teacher, I have to create things and challenges and all this kind of thing. And, you know, sometimes you have to create these kinds of problems for someone to figure out. And I wonder, like, how much whoever created that task, that roadblock challenge, like, I wonder, did you get any information about the person or the background about that challenge, about why they put that specific piece in or anything like that?
No, I don't have any of those details. I don't know. I thought it was a good challenge. It had a degree of physicality to it because those things were super heavy. I think all of the competitors actually did it. Like sliced their hands open, were bleeding all over the place. Come bandage our hands and stuff up. I sliced my thumb up pretty good. So it had a degree of physicality to it, and like you had to put the artwork in the right place. And so I thought it was a pretty good challenge. And I think, you know, a combination of impatience, right? I think my impatience crept in early because we left in the second group. So as soon as I ripped the things open, I'm like, oh, that's the back piece, slid it in, didn't look at anything else. And then maybe some short-sightedness where I didn't even consider the back panel to be something that was wrong. I was like, it has to be where the majority of the artwork is, and that one panel.
Amazing. It's amazing. $1 million panel.
Yes,
I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Talk to me a little bit about like what happens and what it's like once you join the rest of the eliminated. So you get eliminated. What's it like to join the rest of the teams that were eliminated, assuming that's what happened?
For this season, there was no Wester.
Oh, there wasn't? Okay.
So all teams got eliminated. They went home.
Oh, interesting.
Actually, up until Michael and I. And Michael and I flew to Finale City.
Okay.
And then, so, you know, obviously the Final Four, they had their leg that you saw yesterday. And then, so we're at the hotel waiting on the results of that leg. And then, you know, then the Final Four teams to arrive in Finale City. So I think we were there either 2 days, 1 day or 2 days by ourselves. And then before the finale or the Iceland episode or leg was actually executed, all the other teams then started to come back from their hometown to Finale City.
And so what was it like then to be joined? So they're almost, that's even a crazier dynamic. They've already been home. You guys are still fresh with the wounds of being eliminated, and then they're coming back. And I would assume you're mingling back with them again at some level. What's that? Take me through
that. So the first time we got to see each other, right, or, you know, all teams go to like the finale location, I think shock and or awe is the response that Michael and I received. Like, you're here, like you were eliminated. What happens?
Ugh.
We never expected to see you here. That type of thing. It was kind of like when teams saw us, right? That was kind of like our reception and stuff like that. So, you know, tell them the story, what happened. I think there's a couple of teams that were like actually mad at us that we were there in the hotel. So
That's great. Yeah, because I can't imagine, first of all, getting eliminated, then meeting up with all these other teams, and especially they went home and they had this like shot of normal life put back into them. And here you guys are, I'm picturing like just dirty and tired, and everybody else is fully like all good, and they're coming up to you and like, yeah, it's interesting that they all believed that you guys would win too, and they were kind of pissed that you guys didn't.
I wouldn't say all of them believed we would win. I think the majority believed we at least would be in the final three, but there were definitely a couple of teams that were like, yeah, we thought you guys were gonna win. It was kind of like great to hear that, but then it's like it makes me like more upset at myself because like they expected us to be successful, and here we are, not successful.
Well, yeah, but come on, you were successful, my man. You guys ran an amazing race, and I'm not just saying that.
Yeah.
But here, it's not your final detour, because tonight on the podcast, I'm gonna give you a nice little detour here. Trust or deception?
Ooh, that's all I get.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't write the clues for the show. I don't know what they say.
Like, you get it. There's a small bit of information on it. God. Let's go deception.
All right, deception. So, first question: what do we not see as viewers on your final leg edit that you think is something that we should have seen?
Michael didn't the tightrope walk. He didn't pick the right flag his first try. I think it took him 3 or 4 tries.
Wow. Listen, it's not all your fault. Come on, man.
and so where, when the roadblock, the non-participating team members, like, you stand in the holding area.
Yes.
And but where this holding area is, one, I recognized the flag, like when because we read the clue together after we choose the person. So I kind of knew what they were looking for. Excuse me. But where the holding area was, like, we're on the other side of the gorge, and up above us on the upper side, there's this building. It has like 3 flags. It has the Spanish flag, flag, and the Malaga flag, or something like that. And so he's rushing to go get on the tightrope, and I'm trying to stare at him in his eyes, like I can't point because I can't help, but I'm like, follow my eyes, and I'm like looking like this. He goes and gets it wrong, comes back. I'm like, Michael. Like, I'm like, it didn't.
Yeah, because how do you not help him? How do you just sit there, and especially because he failed 3 or 4 times? How do you not help him? That's really great. I wish we could have seen that. Final question of the detour. Coming in midway through, at the end, whatever way you want to take it, but what team or who on what team did you and your brother underestimate the most?
Probably Glinda and Lumumba. Michael and I had a conversation early on. Had to been about leg 2. We thought Derek and Claire and the twins would be successful. Part of that rationale was, I know for Michael and I, just getting used to the cameras being there all the time, asking us questions, that was something people had to get used to. And Derek and Claire already had that experience. And I thought that's just one part of it. And I actually thought, I'm like, Derek shows this really funny, jovial, goofy side to himself. I'm like, he's really a strategic thinker. Claire's very smart. I thought they wouldn't have a problem at all. I thought the twins would bring a different set of skills that would be underestimated. and like, and you look at like Molly, like her calves, like she has like this real musculature to her calves, no matter how small she is. So I'm like, oh, they're probably more fit than people give them credit for. Um, but Michael and I, we met everybody, and like we probably said, oh, that team's probably not going to last too long. That team's probably not going to last too long. We didn't necessarily say that about Glendon Lumumba, but we also didn't think the early success that they had, we didn't think that was going to happen.
Well, I asked you that because, you know, I totally underestimated the two of you. My bad again. That's all on me. But I think the rest of my colleagues on the podcast would agree that they had definitely underestimated Emily and Molly. And I'm glad that you can verify that, and the season has verified that that was by far the biggest underestimation by us. It's not even close. They really are unbelievable. All right. Here's the one more roadblock for you. And I guess, well, I was preparing for you or Michael to have to do it, but
I have to do it.
I guess you got to do it. So I did have one of those themes, like who likes to dig deep was the
question.
Yeah, that was like the thing. It was
okay.
So hopefully that was more on brand. But talk to me about how The Amazing Race has impacted your relationship with your brother.
Oh, man. I got to see him. I got to give context to it, right? Growing up, I'm 8 years older. And so relationship. So first, we weren't necessarily too close when we were younger. And that was just because of the age difference. Like I just had things going on in my life, right? Mm-hmm. Whether athletically, whether it's academically, like I was into a lot of stuff, just involved in a lot of things. And then so after his accident, then I tried to make it a point to like really be close to him, but that closeness came in the form of a lot of sports things, right? I'm coaching him in like little league, like football and basketball. Like I would be his trainer, like in the summer, right? Because he was gifted like track athlete. So I was like his trainer. I led that training, right? And then I took it upon myself to do other things. Like I taught him how to drive stick when he was 12. I taught him how to drive a motorcycle when he was ride a motorcycle when he was 13.
It's a real Amazing Race prep right there, trying to have him teach him how to drive stick.
Dynamic was like really older brother, younger brother. Michael sometimes says mentor, mentee. Like I think I had some influence on him going to the Air Force Academy. So I think that's why he uses like mentor, mentee sometimes. But this was a time to be more equals, more brothers. Like we're together, we're partners, and kind of erase that dynamic. And so that allowed me to see him in a different way. And I thought like the joy that he has like all the time. I don't know if I always came across on camera, but like he was like genuinely excited about everything. The couple of prizes that we won, or just arriving at the Ducati factory, like he was like so excited about it. And I don't know, I thought that was just like, it was kind of infectious and it was just fun to be around.
Yeah, it definitely came through. And like I told you before, I have an older brother, and so you know I can relate to the two of you most of all. And it was really wonderful to see that kind of come across through the screen, the dynamic of your relationship. Let me finish up the roadblock with this last question here. So how does going on The Amazing Race affect your life after it's over? Because I'm thinking, yes, you get eliminated, you go to the sequester, but that didn't happen. But you went to the place where you went, and everybody came, like you told us earlier. And then you're at the final city, whatever, great. But then it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's either you get flown home or whatever happens next. Like life after the race is like what?
Immediately going home, right? The family that we're allowed to tell that we're going on the show. And for Michael and I, our work colleagues and our bosses, like they knew we went on the show because one, we had to get their permission to go. Right. I don't think other professions require that. Because we had to be approved through like security, right? What countries are we going to? We didn't know this information, but our bosses had to know to approve it, right? So anyway, they know. So at first there's just a lot of questions. How did you do? You better not, especially with the workplace, you better not have lost, right? all we do is win. All this type of stuff. That was the immediate thing. And then, hey, you just gotta watch the show. So after that, it really wasn't too much until the show aired. After the show aired, right? I think you imagine if you are active on social media, the friend requests go up, the followers go up. I got stopped in an airport a few weeks ago, and some guy staring at me. He's like, "Where do I know you from?" And so, the Army is a big but a small world. So I'm just trying to be cool. Like, are you in the military? Maybe we've crossed paths one time. Wife immediately goes, "Have you seen Amazing Race?" Like, so he wants to do a picture, or some guy stopped me the other day. They want to take pictures with me. So that's a little different. Here in Savannah area, been like going to the local TV station, doing interviews for the TV station. So things like that are a little different.
And how about the competitive side of it, right? I mean, I'm a competitor. I can only imagine you're in this competition where you're literally racing around the world, and then you just get zapped back to normal life, where are you competing with, you calling Michael like, "Hey, I bet you I can make this dinner faster than you can." Like what, like, how do you turn that off? And how do you turn off the world travel? Like we were just jumping city to city every 3 days and all over the place. Like that, I can't imagine what that would be like. I feel like that you did a life's worth of traveling in 30 days. And then it's just like that, the competition, you just have to cut it off completely. Take me through that part of it too. Like, come on, that's crazy.
The competition, it kind of stays on through the nature of my work. There's a lot of exercises where we do things head to head, right? In a tactical scenario, right? It's how we train, right? We, to say it really simply, we train for war to go to war. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but that's the nature of the job in its simplest form, right? So in that, right, you got to understand if you're good or not. And so that part, that competition, just the nature of the job is always on. As far as the traveling, got back, when did I get back? I think my wife and I might have went to Mexico. I traveled down to Florida a couple times. I actually hung out with Molly in Miami. Lynn's a principal at a school outside Orlando. I went down to Orlando to speak to his students and then my wife's family is like in DC, so been up to DC. Still, so I mean, it hasn't been anything major travel, but like my wife and I, we move around quite a bit, and I've traveled a significant amount of places, and so it wasn't like a huge like I need to go somewhere, because even on the race, like I've been to all those countries except for Jordan before. Wow. So
that's incredible. That's
it sounds when I say this, I don't mean it to sound like unappreciated, right? But a lot of teams, right, it was like wow, we are here, look at this, like we're in Florence and look at that. And like I think because I've been to these places before, like I haven't been to Dom, but I've been to France, like I've been to Paris. A lot of me was like, I've been here before, so I don't have the wow factor.
Okay.
Let's just get to the business of the race. And so I think in some ways that probably helped. Let's just go do it. Let's just go do it. So and I'll probably travel again over the holidays. So travel is just something my wife and I do, my brother and I do.
It's interesting to hear that, because again, I underestimated you guys, and I totally underestimated that piece of it where your military backgrounds would have given you kind of a broader world and a broader experience in other places that could do something like, okay, that wow factor could affect people, or you could feel like that you're not appreciating it enough. So that's pretty great. I love hearing that. Last thing here, my man. Last little root info before you hit the mat here. So what's next for you? What's next for you? You're back home. The show is that piece of your life is moving on shortly. What's next for Marcus?
We're just working. I have a career in the Army, but my wife are looking at some real estate ventures. Michael and I are haggling the executive producers about bringing us back on for like redemption season, unfinished business, all-star season. We're haggling them like we want another shot at it. Just living life.
Well, if you can put a word in for me and my brother, I appreciate that as well to them. But thank you, Marcus. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming on. Hope you enjoyed every bit of the race experience, both when you were on it, but also rewatching it back, even though it wasn't the result that you had hoped for. And thank you again for being on the podcast. We appreciate it.
Ain't no problem, Tom. Thanks for having me again. I love tuning into the podcast. I'll talk to you later.